I'm recording this one on the same day as the one from yesterday or today. I might upload this today. Fuck it. You know, I think you should do things as you do them. I like how my shirt kind of like moves with how the camera is because it's low quality. It's kind of funny. So you're gonna be kind of looking at this shirt the whole time. That's kind of cooked, whatever it is. But this one is I couldn't run a mile last year, and I could have done that, right? I probably could have. It would have taken me 13, 14 minutes though. It would have taken me a long time to run that mile, and I think it shouldn't at this age. I should be able to run a mile at 18 in less than 10 minutes for sure. And now I can. I can run a 7 minute mile with relative ease. It's pretty difficult still, right? Trying to get under 6 minutes. I've ran a 6:40. I've ran a 3:10 half mile or something like that. So I think I can get like a 6:20 right now if I really push myself, right? But a year ago, I couldn't run a 13 or 14 minute mile. And also in the last year, I've ran a half marathon. I have plans to run a marathon, right? And I'm just doing it because I want to. It goes back to what I was talking about in the last video. It's like, don't do things just because you want something out of it. You know, just do it because you want to. Just do it spontaneously, just because you feel like it, right? I decided to start running just kind of on a whim. I think I want to say the first time I ran was, or like really got into running was um, 4 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, maybe five. No, it was 5 or 6. It was January or no, yes, it was. I think it was January because it was at school, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the basement and run on the treadmill for 2 miles, 2 miles every day. That's what I did for a month or so. And in the last year, so sophomore year of high school, I was very skinny, very frail kid, right? And then senior year, I started putting on more weight because I just got caught up in some health stuff, whatever it may be, and I was feeling self conscious about it, right? So when I got to college and saw everybody around me, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do something about this. So I took the gym seriously starting in January, I would say, of 2026. In 2025, first semester of college, I was really just doing whatever came to mind, right? I was just having fun. It was a good time to be alive, right? I'm nostalgic about it. But second semester, I'd started taking things more seriously, right? And I'm taking things even more seriously now, every day, right? And it's not about not having fun, right? I have fun all the time. I have fun every day. There's things that I do every day where I'm like, that was a blast, right? Last night I was at work, like I was talking about earlier. Last night I was at work, and I think, yeah, I watched Little Miss Sunshine sitting in the back of work, and I don't care who sees this because I won't be there for too long, right? This might be a horrible idea for me to say that, right? But I don't really care. I watched it in the back. I know I was doing stuff. I was getting some stuff done, right? But I put the movie on and I had fun, right? Watching movies is important. We're gonna watch a few movies in the next week. By we, I mean myself, right? And I'm gonna probably drop a video called "I've been watching more movies," and it's gonna be about watching movies, right? And what that does for you because it lets you relax, and it confines your time to 1.5, 2 hours of something that was made with purpose and love, and every part of it was made with an art. The editing, the music, the acting, the casting, the costume design, every part of it was made with intent, even if the movie, in your opinion, sucks, right? There's a lot of movies I think that are terrible. I think I can't tell you the last time I saw a really horrible movie, but I can tell you the last time I saw um, a few really great movies, and that's been in the last 3 months, maybe 4 months. I've been watching a ton of movies. While I was at school, I was watching a ton of movies. And then when summer hit, I was like, I'm gonna be watching movies with my dad, every day, right? And we haven't been. We watched one or two, but I saw Obsession in theaters, and of course, everybody's geeked on that shit. It's good. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great movie. Fantastic, fantastic shit. There really is nothing like it that I've seen in the last few years. And I'm not even a horror guy. I don't like that genre of movies, right? But this is a year ago I couldn't run a mile. Not a year ago I couldn't watch 15 movies. But I don't think I could have either. I think I was sitting down and watching YouTube all day and watching reels, right? And I was doing that first semester of college too. And sometimes I still do that. And you don't need to be self-conscious about it. It's not about being self-conscious about it. It's about putting in work to do better, putting in time and effort. Time and effort conjoined. You know what I mean? It's about putting everything together and doing something with that. But a year ago, I couldn't run a mile. A year ago, I didn't go to the gym. I didn't go to the gym until January. I think I could have ran a mile in November, December. I was getting into skateboarding. That's another thing I did first semester that I don't give myself enough credit for. I learned how to skateboard. I feel like most people don't know how to do that. And I was talking to, I was talking to my mom about this a few days ago. I was like, everybody on campus should learn how to skateboard just because it's like teleporting from where you are to the next place you are. And the walk, some people cherish the walk, right? But it's not as fun. I'm telling you that. I mean, I can't speak objectively, right? I can't speak objectively. I can't tell you what's more fun and what's not. Putting in your AirPods or your wired earbuds, looking like a performative ass dude, right? That's what I be doing sometimes. You catch looks all the time doing that shit, right? Especially if I got some shit like this on, some baggy jeans, Vans, old school Vans, new school Vans, whatever the fuck it may be, right? AirPods, wired AirPods, skating, just flying. Unless you hit a rock or some shit. I was hitting rocks, bro. I mean, I broke my foot first semester skating. There were some bad decisions related to that, right? There were some bad decisions. Those who know, right? If you know, you know. But the moral of the story is I got back up after that. And that was a real struggle that month. I think that was October. September, October. I didn't go to many classes. I didn't I didn't value my time very well, but I watched a lot of movies. I did. There was one day I watched mid '90s. I watched shit. Not All Quiet on the Western Front, but the fuck No Country for Old Men, the other long title, and Midsummer on the same day. That's three movies. That was 7 hours of my life. Those are all, except for mid '90s. Those are all two and a half, I think, hour movies. Mid '90s is like real short. One of my favorite movies ever. I've watched it only twice, but fantastic. I love the kid in that movie. I dressed up as him for Halloween. You know, but that was around the time when I was probably struggling the most while I was in college, right? And then December hit, I got home, and the gist was everybody in my room was like, who can, glow up more in 1 month, right? It's not about looks, it's not, right? But that's why I started. That's why I started going to the gym. That's what I've talked about for the last couple of videos. That's what I'll talk about right here because this is the gym video. This is the running video. And I started because we all wanted to look better. We all wanted to, fuck all this social media shit. But we wanted to ascend, bro. I'm sorry. That is what it is, bro. That is what it was. It's not what it is anymore, right? That's superficial. That's surface level. That's hoopla. Fuck that shit. We don't rock with that. Okay. We don't rock with ascension, or optimization, or clavicular, or Love Island. We don't rock with that shit, right? That's not us. That's not me. That's not us. But I started because I wanted to go to the gym and look better. I wanted more people to look at me. I wanted to be leaner. I still want to be leaner, right? I'm looking pretty good right now, I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. I'm pretty ripped. I'm able to run as much as I want, right? I want bigger arms. I want, more defined abs, right? But we're getting there. The work gets put in every day. The work gets put in every day, and that's all that really matters. It's time and effort. That's my shit. This is my new move, bro. I don't give a shit. This is my new move. Time and effort conjoined. And so I started going because of that, and then down the line, I just started going because two of my friends at home, shout out them guys. You know what I mean? I won't say anybody's name on here, just because there's some stories I'm gonna tell about people that are, there's a couple stories that I'll leave people unnamed, right? There's one video I got that's coming soon that's called I don't know what it's gonna be called yet, but it's about how social media is fake, even with the people that you know in your real life. You know, even with your inner circle, even not your inner circle, because I don't know these people very well, right? But they're acquaintances of mine. I would consider them friends of mine, right? I've spent some time with them. I would consider them friends of mine, but their life looks like it's going perfectly, right? But when you know them, when you know what they're doing, everybody's idea of perfect is different, right? They're enjoying their life. I'm not. Sorry, sorry. They're enjoying their life. I'm not saying they're not, but they look like they're doing more successful than they are. That's how it is. I think I look more. The truth is the same about me. I'm not talking about other people negatively, right? I am. That's talking about people negatively, of course. I'll call myself out when I say some bullshit, right? That's talking about people negatively, of course. But I look like I'm doing better on social media than I am probably. I try to be my full self on social media, but you don't see the bad days and the good days differently, right? Just because I post every day, you know, it's up every day. It's always up. But going back to the topic, started going consistently in December. January started running 2 miles every day. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to run a 5K. I thought that was the biggest deal ever. I thought running a 5K was going to change my life. It didn't. I think running has changed my life. Like it's been influential to my daily routine, to how I feel, to how I look, of course. Really how I feel though. It makes me feel stronger, and that's important. You know, being strong is important. Um, but January, February, I started running 2 miles, and I thought that 5K was gonna be the most important thing I ever did. And I ran it. I think it was 26, 27 minutes, which is very respectable. It was straight bullshit because I was using my AirPods to track it. But I was like, that felt good, so I started doing 2 miles every day, 2 miles every day, and then I burnt out. I burnt out because you burn out on whatever it is you do. You're gonna you're gonna experience burnout at some point in your life on something. I burnt out, and for a while I wasn't running, but I got back into it. People in my life came into my life and got me back into it, got me going on runs more often, and I appreciate that. I appreciate them for that. And I started going more in groups of people, not in groups of people, but one or two people, myself, just myself. I started doing one every morning and one at night, 1 mile every morning and one at night. Outside. This was outside at this point. And then I think at that point I was like, I should just run a half marathon. So I tried to get my friend on board with it, right? He gets 2 miles into it and he's like, bro, I gotta turn back. I gotta turn back. He has asthma, so I'm not dissing him, but I kept going. And I'm not saying that because I'm, you know, trying harder in the grand scheme of our lives, right? But at that moment, I was putting in more conjoined time and effort, and I wanted that. I wanted to do something that there was no way I could have done a year ago, because that's the measure of progress in your life. That's the measure of success. That is a measure, not the measure. There's many measures of success in your life, right? I talk with my hands all the time. I really wish the camera was a little lower because you could see my hands all the time moving, right? Um, but it was a measure of success to me. And there was 2 3 weeks after that where I ran that half marathon where I thought I could do anything. That was also when I hit a PR on bench. Anything physically. This wasn't, and mentally too, right? This was like an opening moment to myself, right? I was like, wow, I'm capable of doing some shit that 1% of people have to do every year. Everybody is. They're just um, not putting in the same work. Maybe they don't want it. It's not that they don't want it because they're doing less than you. It's because they don't want it because it's not something they want. I'm not somebody who wants to collect um, toy cars. But if someone was like, yeah, I got the biggest toy car collection in the world, I would be like, that's pretty cool. You know, it's different interests. It's not about whether you want it more or whatever. You know, I'm not somebody who wants that. So it's cool to me that they're doing that. But that's not what you get. Wanting to be cool out of something is not why you do it. You do it for your health. You do it for, like maybe collecting toy cars for someone. It really helps them because, um, their grandparents gave them toy cars as a kid and they want to remember them. That's important. That's important. That's very important. But I ran that, and then for 2 or 3 weeks after that, I started hitting PRs at the gym every day. I think that the day after I ran a half marathon, I hit abs and shoulders, bro. Or no, I was trying to hit legs, bro. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I was in a interesting state of mind, I suppose. I don't really know why I was trying to hit legs after running 13.1 miles, right? But I felt like I could. I felt like I could do anything. So I did go to the gym the day after that. And then my lifts for the next 2 or 3 weeks, there was a high that I don't have the same of anymore, right? But that it still lives with me every day, how I felt there. And it's just important to look back and look at the measures of success in your life, whether that be, for me, music, right? And when I started, I was only cooking with samples. I was only making sample beats. And some of them were decent, really decent, you know? I look back at that and I'm like, dang, like, that's somebody who could make decent music in the future, real decent shit. And then today, I'm cooking up my own melodies. I'm making my own sound kit, Like I'm making shit that I'm going to sell to people. Not many people could say that. And it might not sell, I hope it does. I believe in it. I believe in the product, the progress, and I believe that even if it doesn't sell as soon as I drop it, right? 3 years down the line, I'm bigger as a platform. More people are checking it out, and it's good. It's good sounds. Excuse me, I'm making interesting shit. But that's not something I could have said at the start. At the start, I was copying people. I was copying The Alchemist. I was copying all this shit. But it's important to look at the measures of progress in your life. Because to me, music, fitness, even my diet is considerably better. Even like looking back at old photos, like the shit I was wearing. I'm not a fashionista, right? I'm not the flyest person in the room, right? But the shit I was wearing back in the day was goofy. You know, really, really like all neon and shit. Like that was just garbage, right? And you got to look back at the progress you've made and be proud of it. Because a year ago, you couldn't run a mile. A year ago, you weighed 20 more pounds, right? And that's okay. That's absolutely all right. That's absolutely perfectly fine. Unless you don't think it's perfectly fine. If you think it's perfectly fine and you're content with what you've got, then by all means, stay blessed. Do everything that you can to keep being content. But I wasn't. So the moral of the story is, a year ago, you couldn't do what you can do now. And you should be happy that you're here doing what you do now. But I digress. Have a great day again. Always blessed. Stay humble. Stay putting in conjoined time and effort. And we out.